Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rise Coaching Transformational Speaker channel with yours truly, Chris White. This channel is here so you, coach, mentor, leader, professional, someone who has to sell, someone who has to market on social media, can enhance your capacity to transform people with nothing but the power of your words. That's what this channel is all about. We're talking about public speaking, just getting your message across in a short time in such a way that it changes people's lives, because you really can do that. We'll talk about that more later. Now, our mission is to make you a more confident, more able, less self-conscious perhaps speaker in the earliest time possible. So today, that is going to be our particular focus, is dealing with self-consciousness when you are speaking to an audience of even two. Even one, if it doesn't work for you normally, maybe this can help. And in fact, commonly, those of us who don't like to speak publicly even struggle to connect one-to-one. So it's going to be a really, hopefully, useful tool when it comes to general communication and getting out there and networking and connecting with people in life, but also maybe in your business. So how do we go about this? How to improve the level of self-consciousness? Now, firstly, I want to just separate two ideas. Self-awareness when you're communicating is good. The ability to actually change the way you're moving, change the way your hands are positioned, perhaps even work with the pitch and tone of your voice. All these kind of things are really important techniques and opportunities for a more intentional communication to the audience. So we don't want to eradicate any self-awareness completely. So we're not going to drink heavily, for example, before we speak, as one example. That's not what we're talking about here. I don't know why I went there, but hey, it's probably some good advice. But what we're going to do is we're going to learn to focus on some of the internal things so heavily that it stops us worrying about what the audience is thinking per se, or about whether we're going to miss a word or whether we're going to forget something. All those natural rhetorics that kind of emerge in our anxious mind while we're trying to perform, while we're trying to deliver on a topic. So we're going to use these other bits of awareness to actually load the brain up in such a way that we're in control of where our thoughts are going. That's all we're going to talk about today. So, but I'm going to use a 3-point check that you can actually circle through when you're still bedding into your speech. So what I'd like to say to you when you're communicating with people is at some point you should hit some kind of rhythm, or even flow, which is slightly different, but some sort of rhythm at least. So you get to a point in the conversation or the delivery where all of a sudden there's a level of autonomy in your own sort of interaction with the self, if you will, and with the information that's in your head. It starts to just kind of reel off in a more natural state of being. Now, to get there, we've all got different pathways, journeys to get there. But one of the things you can do in the early stage of a speech that can just ground you and make you feel more centered and then bring that state of autonomy forward is to actually go through a 3-point check. So, 3-point check. What areas of the body we're going to focus on? Firstly, posture. The first thing we're going to do is posture. This can include almost every part of your body, but we're going to focus on hands and shoulders, okay? I'm not going to worry too much about feet. Naturally, you should get your footwork right, but bearing in mind that anything more than a shoulder width stance can look aggressive, anything less can look recessive. So we're not going to worry too much about that. But in terms of the upper body, we want an open posture. There's some real good advantage to this, because just by opening up the front of the body, we actually promote hormones that suggest confidence to our internal being. And that means we can move into a more confident space and state by just hacking our own posture. So, yep, shoulders back, number 1, okay? Number 2, second point of the 3-point check. So we've checked our posture. Then we're going to go eyes. Where am I placing my eyes? We want to do this throughout the speech in this 3-point check, because we don't want to hold a gaze anywhere too long or stay too fixed on a singular position. We want to move intentionally once again around the room. That will become a habit, no doubt about it. As you practice presentation, as you deliver on more content and more topics, you'll naturally get better at moving your eyes around the room. Very different to camera work. Obviously, there we've got quite a fixed state of gaze. But if you want to shift around the Zoom screen and check out other people's Brady Bunch faces, feel free, but try and communicate while you're doing that to the audience so it doesn't look odd, because it can stand out as quite strange when you're presenting, especially if it's a quite intense kind of content that you're delivering. They want to see you and connect with your eyes if possible. So this is quite important. Good. And then the third check that we're going to do with our 3-point check is going to be breath. When was the last time you noticed you took a full breath? Now, this is a really, really good technique, because if your breath starts to run out, you will actually increase any panic or hyper adrenaline influence on the body. So if your body is moving towards a more flight state, or technically a fight, flight, or freeze state, in other words, it's more aroused to the point where you're going to lose sort of some level of control over your autonomic nervous system, then taking some deep breaths can be a really powerful modulator for what's happening internally, right? We all know this from our mindfulness practice, our meditation, our breath work, our focus on the breath for center moments when we're trying to get ourselves in a better state of being. But in a speech, it can be difficult without sounding too laborious, too labored, a bit too intentional almost, because we don't necessarily want it to be perceptible to the audience. So that third check is ever powerful and can stop dizziness if you've been really dialoguing away or monologuing away, as it often is in my case. Then we can just stop and take a breath. Now, in Zoom, this can be a lot easier because it's actually good to put more breaks in Zoom. On stage, however, when our flow starts up, we can get caught up in that moment. So learning about how to use microphones and how to inject breath and recovery of breath into your work can make you a more accomplished, more energized in the long term, higher states of recovery in the medium to long term. In other words, it will make your whole adaptive capability around public speaking and doing it, especially in an intense environment or an environment that elicits some level of stress, which is pretty much all public speaking as far as I can tell, then we're going to recover better and deal better if we're actually breathing throughout properly. Now, I'm not really good at this. This is something that I'm still working on, but it's a really great way to approach, like it's probably one of the most grounding things you can do within your speaking, because it will do other things like slow you down, make you more pensive, let you gather your thoughts, and just keep your energy levels high, and that will maintain focus. Oxygen. We need oxygen for focus. We need it for energy. So it's really important that we actually think about that intentionally throughout our speaking. Cool. So there are 3-point check. Okay. So posture, eyes, breath. Good. Simple stuff. Hopefully valuable, and hopefully something you can put into practice, even in conversation. Using your breath to center yourself and get control of your physiology is a really great thing to think about, because it can have effect on your mood. It can have effect on your reaction over response systems. In other words, if you're in heated discussions or debates, maybe this will help you collect yourself and get your physiology under control. And again, this could be in negotiations or interview situations, any number of possible applications, but certainly speaking for transformation, because the more collected, the more centered, more coherent you are, the more grounded in your own being you are in the moment, the more you're going to connect with your audience. So that was me, Chris, speaking about transformational speaking and some techniques that you can use to really level up and once again improve your craft when it comes to speaking to an audience for transformation. Thanks for tuning in.